Get your copy of Neely Fuller Jr.'s original counter-racist codebook. This special edition leather-bound treasure is an essential keepsake for those who value the work of Neely Fuller Jr. Each limited edition copy has been personally signed by Mr. Fuller and comes with a unique certificate of authenticity. There are only 20 precious copies of this scarce 1984 first printing, which comes in a rare coffee table size. This timeless masterpiece won't last long, and when they are gone, they are gone. To order your treasured copy of this collector's item, visit www.producejustice.com.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are all over this planet. And welcome to the July the 22nd, 2025 edition of Neely Fuller's Counter-Racist Code Show. I am one of the co-hosts, Mr. Bobby, and I have along with me Gate, which I will formally introduce in just a moment. There you go with that salute. But let me give you some housekeeping things here, and we do this every week because we do have new people that come on every week. Listen, you can help support the show, promote the show by hitting the like button. That's very important, like and share button. Now, to watch the show live, go to YouTube at Produce Justice, Facebook and Instagram at Produce Justice Neely Fuller Jr., and you can also watch the show live at producejustice.com. It's additionally a replay of the show is available immediately on all platforms. Now, to get on the show to share your thoughts, click on the link in the feed and you will be prompted on what to do next. If you would like to contact us off of the air, send your questions or comments to contact@producejustice.com. This is real important. The books that we talk about, the United Independent Compensatory Code System concept, can be ordered. All you have to do is go to producejustice.com and all the volumes of the books are on there. You can get it and read it, understand it, break it down, establish your VGQ, whatever, but it's a workbook, a textbook workbook for us who are consider ourselves victims of this white supremacy. So you can get it by going to producejustice.com. Okay, let me get started by introducing my co-host, and that is Gate. Gate, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning, Mr. Bobby, and good morning to all. Glad to be here on this show. As Mr. Fuller would say, I am still learning, as we should all be. And I'm going to tell you today, that statement is going to have more relevancy than probably ever before because of the topic we're going to be discussing today. We're going to be talking about education. Education was near and dear to Mr. Fuller's heart, like many topics that we talk about on the show. And speaking of the show, thank you again for tuning in to all of the new listeners, to all of our faithful followers. We appreciate you. And I'm just here to say that this is not my show or Mr. Bobby's show. This is Mr. Fuller's Counter-Racist Code Show. It's part of the Produce Justice ecosystem. And it's part of you. You are a part of this show. We're not here to just simply read Mr. Fuller's languages, his books, and play his videos. We're talking about the code. Now, the code manifests itself through Mr. Fuller's teachings. And that teaching takes place in his written word in his 3 books. The original book written in 1984, the Word Guide written in 2010, and the revised expanded edition, which was written in 2016. And also an extension of the code is Mr. Fuller's actual words. He's had a broadcast starting back on Talktainment, and for the past 5 years, I was helping to produce the show on Blog Talk Radio, and Mr. Bobby has been right by his side, helping bring the message of Mr. Fuller. And so to give some context of the show itself, we're not here to replace Mr. Fuller. We're not here to usurp, to contradict anything he said, but we are thinking individuals. He was not trying to start a cult. He was trying to start thinkers. He wanted us to learn. Many of the answers to any of the problems that he would be faced with, he would say, educate. Educate. What is the solution to many of the problems? Is to educate yourself. And so this show is going to take on many facets. Sometimes we'll play words of Mr. Fuller. We'll do commentary and feedback. We ask you to join in. We put the link to the show in the feed. You may jump on. Come on board if you have a strong opinion about something we said or didn't say. Don't just complain. Get on camera. Let's talk about it. Let's get on here and talk about it. So that's the an overview of the show. This is your show as well. Now we're going to talk about education today. Mr. Fuller I'm going to sum up his feeling about education in this quick clip.
I'm still learning.
Now, if that doesn't sum it up, I don't know what does. Mr. Fuller, at the age of 95 years old, was still learning. He made no qualms about it. He felt that education was dynamic. It was not an absolute. It didn't have an end date. It didn't expire. And he felt so strongly about it that he included education as one of the 9 areas of activity, right along with economics, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. So he felt very strongly about education. When he includes it in his 9 areas of activity, that means it's important to him. He also included in his big 4. The big 4 when he talks about needs: health, housing, education, and transportation. So Mr. Fuller was of the firm belief that justice starts with an educated mind. Now, with that said, we look at our institutions, which should be a bastion of truth and inquiry. And we should all be encouraged to ask questions. One of his other favorite hallmarks was to stay in the question lane. When you're trying to find a solution to something, ask questions. But we are in this fight against racism. We are faced with some formidable forces. And yes, education, like many of the other areas of activity, or the big 4, are constantly being challenged. They're under attack because those that wish to do us harm or marginalize us know that an educated mind is a dangerous thing. Whether it's underfunding elementary schools or challenging the well-endowed institutions. There are some serious challenges taking place right now. It's been 71 years since Boyd v. Education in 1954, which was supposed to guarantee equitable education to all. But we've seen as recently the challenge of that. Down in Louisiana, where they're challenging some of the safeguards that were put in place under that landmark decision. So if nothing else comes out of this broadcast today, it's the call to action is to educate, to learn, to not let the brain, that good brain in your head, to go docile or latent. And Mr. Fuller was a firm believer that education is one of the pillars of justice. Mr. Bobby.
This is why we must challenge our mind using logic. And what Mr. Fuller did was wrote a guide that is full of a code or codes that we must follow. And the thing about a code, as he often has said, that a code works every time. And once you find that and understand that the protocols that are involved in it, then you learn. And as he says, and not because he said it, but you'll find yourself in a perpetual state of learning. Thus, the coin, still learning, no matter what age you are. So we must invest in ourselves and challenge ourselves to ask that question that he said is why.
Let's look at the book in the revised edition on page 107. The question was there, how can you try to produce justice while at the same time the white supremacists are forcing you to study and learn things that are designed to maintain white supremacy? This is right out of the code book. And his response was, study everything that the white supremacists are forcing you to learn, but invent new ways to use it. Studying the words that they use and using those same words in a manner that help reveal the hypocrisy. Now, if anybody who's a student of justice, one of the first things that's revealed is the blatant hypocrisy that you're going to see. Don't do what I do. Do what I say do. Don't do what I do. Do what I say. It's rank hypocrisy. And nothing is more revealing than when we come to education. So he said, learn, basically to use their own words against them. Learn, but he said, learn, educate yourself. You can't do that if you're not educating yourself. So you have to learn. As a matter of fact, let's couple that with one of his videos back a couple of years ago. So let me put up some of his actual spoken words to keep us on code.
The term education/educated person on page 101 in the word guide. My question for Mr. Fuller is there a reason why you did not specifically address the American educational system?
No, because education is just learning. And you're either learning something that is constructive or you're not. Anywhere you are on the planet, on a desert island or wherever, and anywhere on the bottom of the ocean, you're learning. Every situation is a school. The universe is a school. That's why they call some buildings where people learn, they call them universities. Education is the process of learning everything about everything. That's the codified definition. Which means there's no such thing as an educated person.
Let's look at that. The last thing that Mr. Fuller said. That goes back to dynamism, the dynamic nature of education. Now, that's a pretty strong statement when somebody says there's no such thing as an educated person. Because many of us, we go to school, we get our degrees, our diplomas, and we claim that we are indeed educated, and we might challenge that. But when you look at the dynamic, and this is what I'm interpreting, like I said, this is my VGQ, and that's why we ask you to join in. And we have the room, we've dropped the link in the feed, and you may also put your quotes, you can type in your quotes. I see some people typing in this morning. Somebody said, what is education? Mr. Fuller has said this on many occasions, that education is solving problems. Education is solving problems. Let's go to what Mr. Fuller's definition of education. We're going to go to the Word Guide. On page 101, he said education/educated person. It is important to know that and understand that as long as the system of white supremacy is the dominant motivating force in the interaction between people of the known universe, those white people who practice white supremacy will resist allowing non-white people to learn enough to replace the system of white supremacy with justice. So in other words, what he's saying is that you're going to be, these are my words, you're going to be spoon-fed education. Because when you think about it, when you put into a system and where one of the objectives of the system is to mistreat you and deny you justice, would it not be counterproductive to them to give you enough information to defeat that system or destroy that system? That was Mr. Fuller's take on it, that you're going to get just enough information and that the racists will resist allowing non-white people to learn enough to replace the system with a system of justice. I mean, that you apply logic. If I were the people who are trying to control and mistreat, would I give them the tools or the knowledge to dismantle my system? I think not. And I think that's also what's happening, what we see with the education system that we're in. Mr. Bobby.
Yes, you mentioned earlier the word hypocrisy. And, as you learn, I've learned this, and this really applies to all of us. Three things. You're either going through something, coming out of something, or getting ready to go into something. It's all the time. So you have to be in position to understand where you are and what could possibly happen to you. And when you begin to educate yourself, you're able to apply logic to whatever the situation is. I bring that up because, particularly on the word hypocrisy that you used earlier, as I was doing research this morning and studying, I found out that the Trump administration said and has released 6,000 documents on the assassination of Martin Luther King, which was 57 years ago or somewhere about that. Speaking about being transparent or transparency. But at the same time that this is going on, they will not release 2 or 3 years of the information or the files on Jeffrey Epstein. Look at that. Now, is that transparency? You do for one, but then you don't do for the other. So the question is, why? Why are they doing that? This is why you have to take that code and understand that code and break it down to see what's going on. The New York Times and MSNBC reported that. That's where I the source of my information.
Mr. Bobby, you're right. And once again, let's look at that word hypocrisy. That's been a word that has been it's a litmus test for me through most of my existence when it comes to learning. When my hypocrisy radar goes off, you pretty much lost relevance of it to me. That tells me I've got to go do my own research. I've got to go get my information elsewhere. When you're sitting there telling me one thing and you're doing the exact opposite, that tells me you have no credibility with me. And that has been the problem with some of the educational systems that we've dealt with. I'm going to try Mr. Fuller's words again. There seemed to be some slight lag in the transmission. If we do run into that again, we'll just keep reading from the book and we'll do our own takes. But Mr. Fuller felt that, just like you expressed, Mr. Bobby, sometimes the education itself can be used as a tool. And we already suspect that if you're in this system, everything that's available to the people who are trying to harm you or dismantle, the people who are trying to dismantle the system of white supremacy and replace it with a system of justice, they're going to use the tools at their disposal. And if one of those tools happen to be education, of course they're going to use it. Let's see what Mr. Fuller had to say about that.
Give you the education. They tell you what you can do with it and what you better not do with it. And I wanted to know, can you, Mr. Fuller, example of that, or how they tell you what you can do with the education they taught you and what you cannot do with it?
The white supremacists don't do anything except try to make white supremacists stronger. Any moves that they make, regardless of how it looks on the surface, they wanted to make the system of white supremacy stronger.
But what he's basically saying is that, and that caller was calling in, he was basically saying that if we have they have this information such as education, this system, this institution, or they're using it to teach, or they're using it to make white supremacy stronger. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to just add a take. I'm going to give you my VGQ on this topic. For one, as an educator myself, as a matter of fact, when I get off this podcast today, I'm charged with the responsibility of molding the minds of some teenagers, teaching them digital marketing technology so that they can have a better chance of surviving, thriving in this system in which we operate. So yes, this is kind of personal to me. Also, as a historian, I've watched how education has been used, challenged over the years. But what I like to do is make a distinction between education, the learning process, and education, the system, and how racism has embedded itself in both. Now, in this system of racism, we have to look at if we're being fed culturally appropriate or relevant pedagogy. So when you're being fed this information, particularly in our young people, is it culturally relevant? Or are you trying to teach the kids something where they just can't relate to it? That's why we've seen problems with things like the SAT scores and some of the grading systems, because it's not culturally relevant. And so the young people that are being fed this information, and adults, it's just not sinking in. It's not that they're not bright. It's not that they're not as equally intelligent, because you have a system that has been stacked on the culture of a different population of those who are controlling you. And you're trying to apply that same system, that pedagogy, to non-white people, and it's just not working out. So that's one area where we're talking about the learning, the education learning process. Mr. Bobby.
It looks like we have a couple of people in the chat. Did they have anything to say about that?
Let me put up here. We have Sack 7.
Sat 7, yeah. He says when the white supremacists are not mistreating non-white people, then they are mistreating other white people just to keep in practice. That is why they worship murder and write books about murder. That's a good point. That's a very good point. And it's true. The denial of paternity to enslaved children secured a slave master's right to profit from exploiting the labor of his own children, endangered, bred, and born into slavery. Wow. What you say about that? Oh, wait a minute. What does Sengazi say? What is education? Education is solving problems. He got that quote from Neely Fuller Jr. Right on, Singwali. Ngozi.
Here's one more.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, look at it from this perspective. This is Linwood. Within a political system culture of racism, white supremacy, non-white children are not meant to be taught anything of constructive value. Woo! That's dynamite.
They're on it today.
That's dynamite.
Well, that's why I'm taking this approach this morning, is that we have to look at this system. And like I say, yeah, we're older adults. We've gotten a little long in the tooth. The system has chewed us up and spit us out. We've had to go back and deprogram ourselves in many instances. But the racists have noticed that we have had this opportunity to go back and reprogram and relearn. So they have to change their tactics. They're in the process of eliminating certain things, banning certain books, getting rid of institutions, like trying to abolish the actual education department. So we have to step up our game. We have to look at the psychological effects. These guys, they're really deep. They know that if you embed this system, it's going to have a psychological impact on the young people. We have to look at the learning environment and the classrooms. We have to look at the expectations and feedback. So these things are embedded in the system. It's not just about the book you read. We're talking about a system, and a system is like an ecosystem. You've got to get them when they're young. You've got to change their psychology. You've got to feed them culturally inappropriate information. You've got to put them in an environment that's not conducive to learning. And it's hard to bring up a new group of what we call foot soldiers in this battle against injustice. If you have built this chamber in which it becomes difficult for education to take place. Mr. Bobby.
To illustrate your point in terms of education, they put forth a platform for us to learn. And in particular, they would say, they being the white supremacists, would say the forefathers of this country. But they lied because when you examined who the forefathers are, in particular, let's just say Thomas Jefferson, what they did, they had slaves, and they had sexual relationships with their slaves. Everybody probably knows about Sally Hemings, and I think he fathered 6 children. She had 6 children for him, but they called them forefathers. Well, the Reverend Jeremiah A. Wright, if you want to be truthful about them, and because they were underage, they were actually pedophiles. So he coined the term that instead of being forefathers, that they were well, what is that word that I'm looking for? They weren't forefathers. They were predators. They were predators, and they preyed upon them to produce those children. But that wasn't put in the books. We were just put in that they were just our forefathers of this country, putting down what they did. So when they educated us, they left that out. And then you said earlier about the what diversity, DEI, how they're taking that out because they're trying to put together and have put together a formula. I don't know if it's in Project 2025 or Agenda 47 or the unspoken agendas that they are doing to miseducate us. To miseducate us. Wasn't it Carter G. Woodson? They had the that book about the miseducation of the Negro.
That's exactly right. Carter G. Woodson.
Yeah.
Well, this.
I know what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
I know what I was going to say. He called them, instead of forefathers, he called them the fondling fathers. That's what he called them. Yeah, because really, and they were. That's what they did. But they called them forefathers. He called them the fondling fathers. Woo!
Instead of the founding fathers, he called them the fondling fathers. Well, let's look at this education again, and like I said, Mr. Fuller he spoke on this, and by all means, go get the books. The books are on the website at producejustice.com, and you'll find out exactly how he felt about it. And he reminded us every time he spoke. He starts off just about every show with, "I'm still learning." Now we're going to talk about. We talked about the learning process and how the racists, those who are upholding this system of inequity and injustice, how education has infiltrated and embedded itself in the learning process. But let's look at the institution itself of education. We talked about the difference between the learning process of education and then the institution of education. Okay. So in this, when we get to the institution of education, we have a problem with access and equity. Socioeconomics can determine how much access you have to education. Many of our people in our community, they don't have the resources to get the education that is needed to fight this system. That's intentional. The curriculum representation is European based. It accents colonialism and minimizes the brutality of slavery. And has been accelerated recently. We're seeing people questioning, they create this battle against wokeism, against CRT, against DEI. That's intentional. Get them while they're young. Then there are these discipline disparities, where our young Black men and women are being disciplined more harshly in the system of education. They're going there to learn, and yet they're being treated like they're in a prison yard. Then we have teacher representation, where the teachers don't look like the students, and where the students are more likely to send the young Black men and Black women to detention, to the principal's office. And let's not even get started about the funding inequities. School resources are usually determined by tax dollars. And if you're in an area where there's low tax collected, then it's going to be reflected in your school system. as a rule, predominantly white communities are better funded than communities of non-whites. These are facts. And so when we look at this education, we have to look beyond reading, writing, and arithmetic. We have to look and realize that education is a tool. It's a tool used by white supremacists to uphold the system and to make it more difficult for the system to be dismantled. And so that's why I salute Brother Neely Fuller. I co-sign on what he said about education and how the rank hypocrisy. Don't do what I do what I say do. And that can't be more blatant than we look at the system of white supremacy through the lens of education. Mr. Bobbitt.
You know, and you are absolutely correct, Gate, you know, on that. Particularly, you know, with this DEI stuff and all that. A lot of times we have to start things ourselves. You know, we've been shut out here and there. We have to start things ourselves. And I bring that up in terms of finance in the baking industry. Let me point out this little excerpt. Hopefully everybody can hear it. Let me know if you can.
1964 to a formerly enslaved mother, Maggie didn't just break barriers, she bulldozed them. At a time when black folks couldn't even enter most banks, she built her own. In 1903, she founded the St. Luke Penny Savings Bank, giving black families the power to save, buy homes, and invest in their futures when no one else would. Oh, wow. But Maggie didn't stop there. She ran newspapers. She opened department stores. She hired black women when no one else would. And through the Independent Order of St. Luke, she taught financial literacy, empowerment, and self-reliance to thousands. While Wall Street was locking us out, Maggie was teaching us how to build our own. But ask your history teacher about her, and watch the silence. They buried her legacy because it proves we've always been builders, always been bosses. If this is your first time hearing her name, drop a money bags in the comments. Follow.
Speaking about Maggie, Maggie Walker. I didn't know that. And then I read up about that, Googled her, Wikipedia her, and what she started because she was being shut out. We were being, and she took it upon herself to start teaching financial literacy to our young people. Go ahead, Gabe.
Well, Mr. Bob, that has to be the approach, that for every door they close for us, we have to create our own door. We can't keep walking through the door that they created for us because we don't know where that door is going to lead half the time. So we have to start creating our own doors, whether it's our own banking institution. And that's been one of my challenges. And I've beat my head on the wall several times. We are so dependent on this system for our food supply, for our education, our water, our transportation, our housing. Look at the 9 areas of activity. How in the world? So we have to just be vigilant. And we have one of our followers, our listeners on the line, Black Villain. We're gonna get her take on these topics today. Let me get her mic'd up here.
I'm sorry, fellas. I did a show earlier on my own platform, and that's what I titled myself. Forgot that when I do the stream, that's what it came up as.
Okay.
About that. Grand Rising, brothers. Grand Rising.
Grand Rising.
Thank you, Mr. Bobby and Gate for keeping Mr. Fuller's work alive here for me anyway. I just wanted to say that when he passed, I was trying to make a post on Twitter, and I got completely banned, like for life, on my little post. I didn't even say anything wrong. I was just mostly, I was mostly asking about Mr. Bobby. That's if anybody, reached out to him. Really, it was a sad day. Sad day for him, for us. It was a very sad day for me. I think I wept all day long. I don't even know. It was very emotional for me. 'Cause I live by the compensatory code book all day, every day. Um, the word guide is my favorite though. The word guide actually taught me how to ask questions. If I didn't think I was a little detective already, it just made it even worse. um, but I have a kind of like a thought. And my thought is this: with I don't have any children, going to school and whatnot, but excuse me. However, as an adult, I'm seeing a lot of the programming that's happening, on the media, with on the internet, things that um, I don't subscribe to, or I do subscribe to, depending on where I'm aligned at. I've noticed a lot of programming, and a lot of it is definitely definitely based in racism, white supremacy, in all areas of human activity. So include health as well, nutrition. So all 9 areas, and it's just when you ask the question, can education and racism, the question, can education and racism coexist? No, I don't. In my opinion, I don't think so, because the whole point is to fight racism, white supremacy with logic, right?
Right.
So I mean, like, I
Well,
feel like we're not even getting educated. I mean, we're not getting any kind of education as the black collective, the black Americans here, Aboriginals, whatnot. We're not getting really any education, except what we're seeing is the game is now right in front of us, out in the open. So everybody's cards are low, racism, white supremacy's cards all out there. So we see everybody's agenda now. And it's no longer, we can no longer stay like asleep, or consciously asleep, pretending to be asleep, ignoring it. It's like right there in our face. So um i think that I think that there has to be some sort of another sort of element to this. you
let me
know
see what Mr. Bobby. Hold on there. Let me get Mr. Bobby to join in here. He has some comments for you.
There,
Mhm.
there is something that we can do, honey, and this is it. There's three things. You have to listen to what they're saying, and then you have to develop a strategy to do, and then not to do. You have to work on dismantling it or replacing it with what? The logic that you learn from what they say and what they don't say. You develop that. That's what the people in Tulsa did after they got burned out. They still developed that, but that story was never told. That it wasn't, but they burned out, and then they didn't thrive as well as they did, but they rebuilt. And we have to rebuild ourselves through logic, and that's why the code book was written, to help us, to guide us into what to do and not to do. You, me, Gate, all of us, we have it within us. We have to collectively put this thing together. What did he say? Independent, the united, independent, compensatory code system concept, and it works. You doing what you're doing, exposed to whatever it is that you are exposed to in your area. You employ those three things, and you empower yourself. You don't have to wait on anybody else to empower you. It is already there within you. Open it up, and you will see.
Yeah,
Let me
another thing that Mr. Fuller said was that anyone, if you want to lead, just pick it up and go with it. Anyone can lead. If you really want to. You can do it. I remember reading that if you want to lead, lead.
yeah,
Obviously with a lot. Go ahead.
let me jump let me jump in here. And thank you, Mr. Bobby, for that. Uh, Mr. Fuller, I'm going to repeat something we said earlier. Is that he said, learn what they're teaching you and expose the hypocrisy. And that's something you can pass down. That's something you can share with others. So don't stick your head in the sand or close your ears to it. That's going to breed and feed misinformation. You have to challenge it. When you see something or hear something that you know is incorrect, that you know it's being used as a weapon against you, don't close your ears to it. Read it, expose the hypocrisy, and then share it with the people who are not as erudite as you are.
Mm-hmm. Yes, thank you, fellas. I just wanted to come on and share it. Say
Well,
hi.
I really appreciate you coming on. I don't want you to be a stranger, and we hope you
Oh no,
enjoy
I
your
was
game.
for weeks. I just keep missing it. I
All
keep
right, well,
missing
glad
it
you
early. I'm on Colorado time.
lock it in that dial, share it, follow the platform. Make sure you're following us. That gets you you get a notification when we're about to come on. Okay.
Yeah, when you guys first came out, I was like one of your first subscribers.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Yes, sir.
There you go, Mr. Bobby.
Yes, sir. See, it's always better, when we get the people involved, their VGQ on their ideas that we can pick up from and still learn to help dismantle this system. And it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight. It's a continual process. You're doing your thing in D.C. I'm doing my thing here in Ohio, and this young lady in Colorado. Wherever it is, that's where it's at. It's like a pulpit. Wherever you are, that's your pulpit.
That's exactly right. Well, let's look at once again, thank you everybody for tuning in. This is the Neely Fuller's Counter Racist Code Show. We come to you every Tuesday at 9 a.m. and we're looking at this system and how it has been, it's an ecosystem. And in order to dismantle this system, you have to look at the structural hierarchy, because you can't just look at one part of the system and not the others. You have to look at the individual level of this system of racism and white supremacy, which includes personal bias and prejudice, people using stereotypes, discrimination between individuals, microaggressions. That's the individual part of it. You will see that in education. But then you will see the institutional level, organizational policies. It is encoded into the system itself, how kids are being disciplined, banking lending criteria, algorithms. This institution, this is why this system is so difficult to dismantle. But part of that education process is for us to educate how this system works, to understand the different layers. That's education. Self-educate. Don't just be spoon-fed what they give you, because, like Mr. Fuller said, yes, learn all of that. But also learn enough so that you can expose the hypocrisy. And that's where you have to go outside of what they're teaching you. You won't see the hypocrisy as long as you're being chewed up and spit out by the system. You have to go out and find where that hypocrisy exists and expose it and turn their own words against them. And then we have to look at this systemic level, where there's a collaboration between institutions, between education and banking and housing and health, where we see a historical accumulation of advantage and disadvantage. We even have a legal framework that's upholding this institution. So when you look at the individual level, the institutional level, and the systemic level, and you layer that over something that's supposed to be innocuous and beneficial as education, and you wonder why we're in this like a mouse on a spinning wheel, why you feel like we're running in circles. And like Mr. Fuller said in one of his well-documented quotes, he said there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide. You're running around like a bull, you're being chased like a bull in a coliseum, and you cannot outrun it. I'm just telling you. I'm a little long in the tooth, and I'm telling you, trying to outrun it is not going to work. What you have to do is turn around and face that bull. That's what Mr. Fuller said. Those were his exact words. You got to turn around and face it. And one of the ways to do that is to educate yourself. You need facts and knowledge in order to fight this system. We have another listener on the line. I don't see your face, but I do see you're in the green room. I'm going to put you on the screen. If you don't put your camera on, we're going to see if we can get your words on here. And if you're not interested in talking, then just turn off your mic, but I will bring you onto the stage. Okay, it's not happening. Okay, they would need to connect their mic and cam in order to get on the stage. But anyway, if you want to do that, go ahead and connect yourself and we'll bring you on the stage. Mr. Bobby.
I'm going to say, as you were speaking about, I use the metaphor of a grass seed. You can go out there and have your plot and distribute your grass seed in there. But your grass seed is not going to come up overnight. So you ask yourself, why? What are you doing? Well, as you plant it, you have to understand what's going to happen. In order for it to stand, it has to develop what? Roots, a foundation. Anything without a foundation will not stand. So as those seeds are there, it may look like they're not doing anything, but they are establishing a foundation so that the grass can grow up. And that's one thing that we have to do. I say that because I had to do that in my own yard because I was wondering what was going on. And then that thought came to me that this is a process, and learning this counter-racist thing is a process. A foundation has to be established so that when the times come, we can stand on the foundation and not be blown over by all the stuff that we see that's going on right now. Go ahead, Gabe.
Thanks, Mr. Bobby. I'm looking at some of the comments coming in, and they are great comments, great engagement. Still Learning says, does education provided by racism, white supremacy lead people out of ignorance or into ignorance to support the continued existence of racism, white supremacy? And will the racist white supremacists teach people to dismantle the system? Well, I say you have to look at education like you would look at anything else. And as we get older, more educated, more seasoned, we start to question things. And if you, whether it's racism or any system, if you take it prima facie or just face value, you're going to be led around like somebody with a ring in their nose, like a bull. So it's incumbent upon all of us. And I'm even going to take this out of the context of racism and white supremacy. I'm just going to say this in general. Whenever you're fed any information, there's usually an agenda. But you have to make the assumption, if it's the preacher in the pulpit, if it's the college instructor, if it's the motivational speaker, there's generally some underlying agenda. Sometimes it aligns with what you're there for. Sometimes it's not. But what you have to do, according to Mr. Fuller, is to take that knowledge, learn what they give you so that you can expose the hypocrisy. You can't do that until you learn it. That's what I like about listening to people who are claim to be educators, claim to be helping me, making my life better, when indeed they're just making their own lives better. So to answer to that question, my first guess is that the education provided by those who are trying to marginalize you, mistreat you, is that they're not trying to get you out of ignorance. If anything, they're trying to get you deeper in it, or at least confuse you inject some confusion so you don't know what to do, you become paralyzed and do nothing. That's the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is that they're going to do things to harm you. And that's where you have to do your own education, your own research, and question the thing that you're being fed. Somebody said we need our own code. Well, we need our own code. Well, that is what Mr. Fuller has provided for us in these 3 books. And his wording, someone said you have to change your own mindset. That's exactly right. Your mindset has to be, if anything I've gotten from Mr. Fuller's comments on education is that it's dynamic. And dynamic just simply means something that's always changing. So he said, there is no such thing as an educated person. Let me help you make that, and that may be obvious to some, but let me help that make sense to some of you. When you look at education as dynamic, that means you're not educated yet. You are in the process, as Mr. Fuller has said at the beginning of every show, you're still learning. And until you know everything about everything, you are not fully educated. You are in the process of being educated. I've got all kinds of degrees on the wall back here, but I'm still learning. I'm still in the process of being educated. So don't ever stop learning. Don't ever stop being educated. And whatever you do, question the people who are educating you and expose the hypocrisy. I like what the reader said. You are bred to be misled. That's pretty powerful. What do you think, Mr. Byron?
That's true.
Bred to be misled. Man, I have to coin that phrase. Hey, Khalif, I'm going to take your phrase, man. That's you are bred to be misled. I like that. Mr. Bobby, we're coming toward the end here. Any closing remarks?
Yeah, like I said, always this week and previous weeks, producejustice.com.
Get your copy of Neely Fuller Jr.'s original counter-racist codebook. This special edition leather-bound treasure is an essential keepsake for those who value the work of Neely Fuller Jr. Each limited edition copy has been personally signed by Mr. Fuller and comes with a unique certificate of authenticity. There are only 20 precious copies of this scarce 1984 first printing, which comes in a rare coffee table size. This timeless masterpiece won't last long, and when they are gone, they are gone. To order your treasured copy of this collector's item, visit www.producejustice.com.